Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Aaron St. Denis at FF Mad Scientist. That is SC Romero at the PPR Show, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Universe. Well, that intro startled me awake. Got me
Oh
kind of a
yeah.
sleepy day sitting at home inside the heat here, enjoying the football game. Just finished the Lions up, and we are here with the 2024 rookie sneak peek for LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels. How's it going, SC?
So doing good, man. Congrats to your Detroit Lions. If you wanna, cheer or anything,
I'm
yell, go ahead
I'm
and do it.
torn because I'm not technically a Lions fan. Like I grew up a Lions fan, but when Barry retired, I stopped watching football altogether till Calvin got back in,
Mm,
and then I was a Saints fan because of fantasy football. But the last few years, I've kind of not been anything. After Breeze retired, I'm like, I don't really like these guys anymore. I don't really like
okay.
anyone. So I'm just kind of the Lions are so fun to cheer for, and I see all my friends and family happy. So I'm in
Yeah.
there cheering and crying like I'm a hardcore Lions fan, but I kind of keep it to myself because I don't want to look like a bandwagon fan. So I just cheer in secret.
It's okay, man. What they're doing over there in Detroit, shout out Brad Holmes, shout out Dan Campbell, great organization. It seems like top to bottom, what they're doing is building a nice culture. But you brought up New Orleans, speaking of Louisiana, this guy here is from Baton Rouge, from LSU.
Yep.
Great quarterback, Heisman winner. Looked phenomenal all season. I wouldn't say all season, but he looked good, and I think it's an exciting quarterback that will be there's gonna be two spectrums on him. You're gonna be in on him, you're gonna be out on him for different reasons. But the combine will show a lot if this skill set is really there in the numbers and not just on the field too.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with the numbers. So in 2019, as a freshman for Arizona State, he got into 12 games, threw for 2,943 yards with 17 touchdowns and two picks. Followed that up with the 2020 season, the Pac-12, Arizona State again as a sophomore. Only 4 games that season, 701 passing yards, 5 TDs, and one interception. What was the injury? I don't remember. Why did he miss so much time? You remember off the top of your
Um, no, I do not. I feel like it was
head? I'm trying to look
something
it
with the
up.
knee.
Oh, never mind. COVID. I was like, I know
Oh,
there was a reason why he didn't play. COVID. That's why. So he only played the 4 games to keep the extra year of eligibility. If I had read Jesse's report, I would have known that. I knew there was something. I'm like, was it an injury? Nope, that was the COVID year. It seems like ages ago COVID happened. But so
yeah.
the COVID year, he played the maximum, I guess, 4 games,
Where were you when COVID
701 yards.
happened?
Yeah, COVID. 2021, his final year at Arizona State as a junior, back to full slate, 13 games, 2,381 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Not great. Transferred after that year to LSU as a senior, played in 14 games, 2,913 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions before his final year in LSU in 2023. 12 games, 3,812 yards, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I know there's some rushing stats that I don't have in front of me, but the main thing I found when looking at him that worried me is I hate these guys who don't have a true breakout till they're
Mhm.
older. Like I get 29 yards, he just shy of 3,000 in 2019, 20, just shy in 2020. It's not terrible, but he didn't really like 3,800 was his career high in college, and he didn't do that till his fourth, fifth year, depending on how you want to count the COVID year. That kind of scares me. I hate those guys who come on late when they're far older than the rest of the class, which he is. He is 23.
Yeah.
That worries me. What are your thoughts?
I think that's like I said earlier, you're on or you're out on him, and I think that's a big part is because of the late bloom, if you will. I mean, this past season you mentioned three over 3,800 yards passing, also over 1,100 yards rushing. So the athletic ability is there, and that's what's going to drive a lot of people, especially when we're talking fantasy football. You think about it, you want that dual threat quarterback, right? The guy that's not just passing the ball to get the touchdowns, but the guy that takes it all for himself and gets a touchdown. He's someone someone that can do that. For me, what haunts me is this year that game against Florida State University. He tried to jump over one of his linemen and just got lit. Like, I mean, rocked. One of those welcome to the leagues. And he's not necessarily a big guy. People want to compare him to Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's quite a bit bigger than him, so he's not that big. So he's got to learn quick. You can't be doing those kind of plays to take hit, especially as the quarterback, right? You're the focal point of an offense. You can't risk taking a unnecessary hit that could bring you down for a week or two. And that's what worries me a little bit. He drops some dimes. He knows how to throw it great. But also in some of the plays, if you look at his tape, sometimes the wide receivers make it up for him. He's either underthrowing, overthrowing, and he was blessed with great wide receivers in Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. So that's worrisome as well. Is he the quarterback that excels because the wide receivers show up and they're great, or is he the quarterback that he makes the wide receiver as well? A lot of things to tell the tape for him. But athletic ability, there's no question. He's probably the most athletic quarterback in this draft.
I kind of figured coming into this one, I was going to be the low guy on Daniels. And like I said, in his 3 best years passing, he also added in 710 yards rushing, 885, and 1134 with
Mhm,
6, 11, and 10 touchdowns. That just worries me. Like you said,
mhm,
he was relying heavily on the skilled receivers. And I
mhm,
don't like these guys who, like, I know he could have that Josh Allen, QB1, Jalen Hurts huge rushing season, but I hate the guys where I feel like they rely too much on the ground game. And that was my worry coming out of college with Justin Fields and Anthony
mhm.
Richardson. Richardson passed the ball better than I ever could have imagined.
Right.
Fields really hasn't passed the ball at all. And look at him. What's 4 years later? They're already talking about drafting a replacement. So
But
this
I
one scares me if he doesn't turn the passing game into a consistency for him and he just wants to be the Justin Fields, live off of his legs. That's going to be a no-go for me.
I
So
I
he
don't I don't think he's the type of quarterback that turns the franchise around if they have no weapons around him, right? So, like, for example, if he were to go, let's who's
Okay, well,
before Washington,
the one that the
what?
90% of the mock draft database, well, not 90, but I've got 40 on the front page here.
Yeah.
30 of them have him going third overall to the Patriots.
I don't think that's a good move for them. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily the type of guy. One, I mean, unless they are bringing in someone completely new, but like he doesn't fit that system of what we've seen. And the Patriots, notoriously, just in the past few years, even with Bill Belichick there with Brady, Brady made some good wide receivers. They
Yeah.
don't have good. No offense to Demario Douglas, right? He looked great this year. They don't have the wide receivers to do that. If he goes 2 to Washington, I'll be like, okay, this might be scary. You get Terry McLaurin, you get Jahan Dotson, Antonio Gibson, Chris Rodriguez, even Brian Robinson, right? But if he goes 3 to New England, I think that's a trap play for him. Let people take him in the draft. I just don't like, even if they get a wide receiver in that second round, maybe a Troy Franklin or a Donnie Mitchell, maybe. But even then, I just he's gonna be a quarterback that needs help. I feel like.
I don't love either. Regardless of Washington or New England, you're
Mhm.
breaking in a new coach there. I'm
Yeah.
trying to look. I know we're skipping ahead. This is normally how I end the show, but I'm trying to look in the first round here. I know he's projected. What is Jesse? He has him top 10. I think it's more like top 5. But I'm
Yeah.
even looking like even if I go down a little, like Arizona's not going to take him. The Chargers aren't going to take him.
Mhm.
The Giants could. I don't really want him to go to the Giants. The Titans, I don't think will.
Gi- The Giants is a similar situation to New England. Right now, you need that wide receiver. Like I don't think Hyatt's gonna be a breakout wide receiver with Daniels at quarterback.
I
Jayden
don't.
Daniels.
I don't mind at 8 the Falcons. I really like it. For some reason, at 11 the Vikings took him. That's a nice fit.
Yeah.
I could even
And
see
then
12 to Denver. Like both teams have a fair amount of weapons. So
So I forget what the connection is, but Antonio Pierce, whether he was like a interim at Arizona State or he was just a scout for them or something, but Antonio Pierce has a connection with Jayden Daniels. So I've been doing my mocks in the sense that the Raiders trade up to try to get some
yeah,
Jayden Daniels because he wants him.
that's. I think my favorites are in the 10 to 20 range here. Even
Mhm,
Seattle at 16. There's a ton. If they don't bring back Geno, there's a ton
mhm.
of wide receiver talent there. So I don't
I mean,
mind
even if
that.
they do, because I don't think Jaden's gonna hurt from sitting a year. It's not Drew Lock,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You don't
that's
want Drew
true.
Lock back there. So
Yeah, it's just tough. The ones that are likely to
Mhm,
take him are early, and I don't love any of the situations.
mhm.
Getting in, we'll go through. If you want to read over Jesse's profile, the written one is out on our website, fantasyfootballuniverse.com. Jesse went over strengths and weaknesses. He says elite athleticism at the quarterback position allow him to turn broken plays into explosive ones. Arm
Yep.
strength to make all the throws required. He displays impressive touch and accuracy on downfield throws, consistent ball placement.
Yep.
He's got good footwork and mechanics when dropping back. In open fields, he's a weapon. Obviously, you can see that from the rushing totals. And as a
Mhm.
quarterback, he consistently demonstrates the ability to make smart decisions, as evidenced by a minuscule 1.6 career turnover rate. So, what was your what stood out to you as far as his strength? Was it the rushing? The rushing ability was his number one
Yep.
asset.
The athleticism, yeah, I think he does know when to escape the pocket. He knows when he needs to get out, and he uses his footwork to do that. He has some nice footwork. But again, in the NFL, I think these guys are gonna be a lot faster. That they'll be able to catch up to him, right? But he still looks good, and his arm, he can throw on the run, and he has a good arm strength that he can make those NFL throws that you need to. But again, the receivers helped out a lot. But yeah, I think the athleticism is what stands out most.
All right, and his weaknesses he had at times he's too eager to run, which is typical of the rushing quarterbacks. That
Hmm.
Justin Fields makes a career of one read, pull the ball down and run.
Right.
That seems to be what Daniels does too. Relies too heavily on his first read, is what he said.
Hmm.
That's his next point. I just said that. When he leaves the pocket, his throwing mechanics become inconsistent, which
Hmm.
happens for every quarterback. But
Hmm.
he tends to leave the pocket sooner than most.
Right.
Very raw as a quarterback, will need time to develop. So there's to your point where maybe he doesn't play year one. That could be
Mhm,
beneficial to him, kind of in a Hendon Hooker like situation.
mhm.
What did you notice as his top weakness for you?
Around those same things, where I think at times he could have just moved out the pocket and made a smarter play by just going down his reads, but he saw his first read was gone, so he would go out there and run. And again, it's okay in college. That's how you make some superstars in college, but in the pros, there's a quarterback's watching excuse me a linebacker watching the quarterback at times, and there's guys that are a lot faster that can get to him, so he's got to be smarter about that, going down his reads and finding those guys, because whenever you catch that open wide receiver, because you go down your reads, that's the big plays that happen. You don't always need to rely on you. It's good that he has that footwork and the agility, but at the same time he needs to just relax, take a step back, and learn the position a little bit more. I think the IQ of the game isn't where you want it to be in a franchise quarterback, but yeah, he can definitely learn it.
All right, Jesse has him going two overall of the Commanders. Where do you think, and where do you
Um,
want him to go?
Let me pull up my mock real quick. Hold on.
Well, I can go. I can
Mhm,
tell you that I was hoping. I said I think my favorite landing spots are if he slips. I love 8
mhm,
to the Falcons. I shouldn't say love. I like 8 to the Falcons. I love 11 to the Vikings. 12 to the Broncos. 13 to the Raiders. 16 to the Seahawks. Anything from about 8 to 16, I think is
mhm.
awesome. Even 10 to the Jets if he sits a year behind Rodgers. Don't really want him going to the Bears. Don't really want him at the Saints. But like I said, I
Yeah.
think my favorite options are all in the 10 to 14 range. I
Uh,
don't love any of the early, but not just for him. I don't love any of the early options for any
mhm.
of these quarterbacks, which is a
Yeah.
shame because a lot of like three of them are going to these options that I
Yeah.
don't really love. I'm assuming the Bears trade out of the pick.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
what do you
think 13 to the Raiders. Like I said, I think the Raiders trade up. I think that makes sense, especially with his ties with Antonio Pierce. But also, I like the idea if he slips, that Seattle takes him at 16. I don't think they'll trade up for him because I'm pretty sure they'll run with Geno again. But I like he's better than Drew Lock by a mile, if not more, right? So having him sit behind a year for Geno, someone that's win three adversity and just became a stud out quarterback for that team, that would be great. And as you mentioned, they have weapons. Even if Locker retires, they still have DK, they still have JSN, they have Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, weapons that he can build around and become great. So best fit, I think, would be Seattle, but I think the Raiders end up making a move and getting him.
Absolutely. All right, guys. That is a wrap for the rookie sneak peek for LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels. Like I said, the written form of it is on the website, written by Jesse. That's fantasyfootballuniverse.com. Check back tomorrow for our next player in the series. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Fantasy Football Universe. For Aaron SC and SC, take care and have a great night.